The other name that was moved at the deadline today was J.J. Redick. And, Redick's kind of quietly come on as a pretty solid contributing player, and he's actually averaging 15 points a game this year. Not a whole lot of people know that. His contract expires at the end of the year. Orlando, they're a rebuilding team. Redick doesn't really add that much to them. He's 28 years old. They move him to Milwaukee for a collection of young players, none of which really, light the world on fire. Tobias Harris, Beno Udrih, who has to be on his 12th team by now, and Deron Lamb. But Milwaukee, in the meantime, gets a nice player who's kind of an insurance policy in case they lose one of the guards. I believe Brandon Jennings' contract is up at the end of the year. So that's not actually that bad of a fit, I think, for J.J. Redick.
Not bad of a fit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he sticks around at the end of the season. I mean, maybe they give him more money. They're able to give him more money than other teams, I think, being that they have him in their books now. But I don't know. I think JJ Redick. I know you need to think financially, and he's still relatively young. But wouldn't you just kill to see JJ Redick be a spot up 3-point shooter on a contending team? Like he was when Orlando made the finals?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he works. He's a good player. He's an underrated defender, too.
Yes, I think his defense improved immensely since college. I remember when he came out of Duke, people were just saying, "Oh, this guy's never going to make it in the NBA." And I think he was something like a 13th or 14th pick in the draft. So even though he was the best player in college basketball at the time,
Milwaukee gave up nothing to get him. Absolutely nothing.
I mean, it's a low risk move by Milwaukee, definitely. But But I just keep thinking, if JJ Redick could just join a contender, he could be just that little cog that would make a machine that's, just not there yet work.
I'm not sure where Milwaukee is right now, frankly. I'm not sure really what the game plan is. I mean, there's obviously some pieces, Ellis and Jennings in the backcourt, and Larry Sanders up front can play a little bit, but where are they going right now? Is this a team trying to build forward? I mean, I don't really entirely get. It's a low-risk move, but Milwaukee seems to be one of those teams that's a little bit stuck in purgatory, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, we see it time after time with the Bucks. It's all about saving the Bucks, no pun intended. But it's just about the money with them. They're a small market team, and they never really threaten. They're always in that 8th, 9th spot in the East. It's like you said, they're just stuck in no man's land. Really, they're not going to contend. Once again, I think if in the NBA more and more teams need to think about bottoming out and using high draft picks wisely. I think that's the way to go in the NBA.
Oklahoma City's the best example of that. They are the best example of that.
Yes, definitely. And the reason is, even now with the more punitive luxury tax and the new collective bargaining agreement, rookie contracts are paramount in value. I mean, they're the most valuable thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it now. Houston getting Thomas Robinson for nothing really, for Patrick Patterson and a couple other people. Couple other nobodies really from Sacramento. That's the kind of thing teams covet, and Daryl Morey's as clever GM as any in this league in getting that trade done, because Thomas Robinson, even though he's had an underwhelming rookie season, he's quite frankly he's still got humongous upside.
It's unbelievable, and I'm glad you brought this up, because this brings us to our next trade we want to talk about. The Thomas Robinson deal baffles me, and it's an example of a good general manager and a good franchise, which is what the Houston Rockets are becoming, and taking advantage of an absolutely terrible organization and a terrible management system with the Sacramento Kings. I mean, it's not a rule, but it's an unwritten rule. You do not give up on a top 5 lottery pick, 4 months into his career. I mean, it's absolute insanity. And the crazy thing is, they don't even save that. I've never heard of a rookie contract being traded to save money. I mean, they're saving about $3 million. That is absolutely nothing. That's the sort of trade you make when you personally do not have enough money to pay the employees of your company. So you need to save $3 million in the short term. I mean, this is simply the Maloofs at their very, very worst to me.
Oh, the Maloofs have given up. I mean, this is rock bottom. Dumb move. Absolutely baffling. Just really ridiculous move by the Kings. This is the Maloofs saying, I mean, can they undervalue the franchise anymore before they sell it?
Yeah, you'd think they want to raise the value so they get a bigger price tag when they sell it.
Exactly. It's just a baffling move, and like you said, like I was saying at the start of the program, it happens time after time, and I think Bill Simmons was writing a column about this a little earlier today or yesterday, and he was saying that given the amount of media scrutiny that the NBA has, you would think that general managers would learn by now, given the negative feedback and the amount of times we say, oh my God, do not give him that kind of money. Do not give him that ridiculous contract. And time after time, GMs, front office management repeats their mistakes. And it's crazy, but it seems to be with the same teams every time.
It's the same teams every single time. And what I don't get with this is they didn't even acquire a first round pick.
No, nothing.
They could have gotten several picks back for Thomas Robinson. I mean, look, they got a couple of decent role players. I mean, Patrick Patterson is a nice eighth man. Tony Douglas is a decent backup point guard. But I mean, you are selling him for 20 cents on the dollar, and I thought this was baffling. Meanwhile, Houston once again pull off a really nice move, and now, a year ago, they didn't have Jeremy Lin, they didn't have James Harden, they didn't have Omer Asik, and they didn't have Thomas Robinson. I mean, Daryl Morey is slowly but surely making all the right moves in Houston.
Oh yeah, he was laughing. He must have honestly not believed that Sacramento went ahead and pulled the trigger on this deal. he probably couldn't believe his luck. Thomas and again, I mean, Houston, we know they're after. They were after the Pau Gasols. They were after, the Dwight Howards. So this is also not only could be a nice addition to Houston, but it could also be a huge trade chip this summer.
Yep, and that's exactly what I was thinking. What I don't get is, if the Kings were trying to trade Robinson, I mean, you could make that public. You can say, we're trading Robinson, give us your best offer, instead of simply taking the first terrible one to come their way.
And I think it was it 2 drafts ago? They actually moved down in the draft to get John Salmons.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing is they weren't saving any money by doing that. They moved down in the draft and put more money on their books to get John Salmons.
It's been a very long time since Weber and Stojakovic were running in Sacramento. I want to ask you about the final trade of note on the trade deadline, and that's actually a really underrated move that the Celtics made today. They traded Jason Collins, who I believe was born without ACLs, and Leandro Barbosa, who recently tore his ACL, and they get back Jordan Crawford, a nice young player who's averaging about 13 a game for the Wizards. And, I get that he's been he's been a player who's been at odds with the Wizards organization, with the coaches there. And so you knew he was going to be leaving at some point. But, man, Boston really took advantage of that situation. I think they really got a nice young perimeter player basically for free.
I like it. We were talking about it last week, saying that the Celtics needed another guard. I mean, Leandro Barbosa gave them so much, just gave them a nice little offensive scoring punch off the bench. And Jordan Crawford just does just that. And he's younger. And who knows? He could be around long term with the Celtics. He can shoot the ball well. He can drive. He can put the ball on the floor. He can drive to the hole. And he gives them that offensive scoring punch. And I'm pretty sure that now that he's not stuck on a bad team, Doc Rivers will get him to defend as well.
I always confuse Jordan Crawford for Jamal Crawford. One, because they have the same initials, similar name, similar appearance, and I think they have really similar games too. I
Yes,
think
very similar.
I think he's just a gunner off the bench, and he's a nice energy guy that adds to an already decent Boston team who apparently are still all in for this season by not trading anyone here at the deadline.